next speaker is from the Biohacker's Handbook. So Dr. Olli Sovijärvi is one of the co-authors of the Biohacker's Handbook, pretty much the lead author. And we actually have now worked on a new book, the Biohacker Stress Manual, that dives deep into hacking your stress. That's one thing that came out from writing the first book. How many have, by the way, read or kind of browsed maybe through the sleep chapter of the Biohacker's Handbook? Oh yeah. So we have a new book coming out. We were working on that, and we realized that there's so much we want to say about the nervous system and stress in general and how to manage that. So we're going to show the pretty much like primetime version of the trailer for the Biohacker Stress book, and then give Olli the stage.
All right. Very excited? Has anybody got any stress? Never. Okay, I'm gonna prepare a little. You're gonna guess what my topic today is. It's nutrients for stress management. I'm sure this is pretty interesting topic for many. How many of you tried any supplements or herbs or something for bouncing back stress? So that's quite a bit. And probably some of you have noticed some effects, right? Okay, so today, short look at the systems that we want to affect. Basically, the short-term stress response is from the sympathoadrenal system. So you're getting this fight or flight response. So how can we affect that? And on the other hand, how can we affect the HPA axis, which is more of the long-term stress response system? So if you are like long-term is stressed, we produce too much cortisol, or we can get even cortisol receptor resistance. But today, I'm going to be speaking about the tools. So I picked my top 4 adaptogenic herbs, and they're all here, and I have used them all, but I'm going to also use it now when I'm speaking about each substance. Do you have any favorites? Like any of have used rosewood? At least yesterday in the upgraded dinner, there was rosewood in the drink. So the Latin name for rosewood is Rhodiola rosea. Finnish, it's ruusujuuri. It's a pretty interesting plant. The main part of the plant is the root that we're going to use. So I have over here Finnish puhdistamo Rhodiola. This is an interactive thing. All right, it's empty now. So I'm gonna go through pretty fast what are the phytochemicals and the physiological effects. Apparently the slide doesn't show as it should be, but anyhow, it's good to go. So that's basically the main effective ingredient is salidroside. Has also some rosines and rosovines and like 100 other substances. So probably there's some more into it we don't even know. Typical dosage 288 to 680 milligrams per day. But even with 50 milligrams, you get an effective dose. You can use it like in alcohol extract or with the water extract. I prefer the alcohol extract. It affects, lowers cortisol. That's like, I noticed it immediately. Yesterday, for example, in the upgrade dinner, I took the Finnish Arctic Warriors rhodiola. And after like 5 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm going to feel it now. But basically, adaptogenic herbs are meant to be used in the long term. So they are meant to adapt your system. They're meant to be your system to be adaptive for the plant. That's why the name adaptogenic herb. It affects certain neurotransmitters like acetylcholine in the limbic system of the brain. It can also control your emotions, the fear response, and so on. So it helps to deal with emotions too. Noradrenaline, that has to do with memory consolidation, serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and dopamine, which is like the main motivator. So quite wide variety of effects. Ashwagandha or ashwagandha. Anybody used ashwagandha? Okay, you're pretty in tune in these substances. I can ask you after the lecture about your effects, but I'm going to go through the effects on the science-based. So basically, I use powder. The name comes from that it smells like a horse. This is pretty good, but I would want to have like liquid on it. And so I'm really not getting the optimal dose, which is 500 to 2,000 milligrams 3 times per day. Use water extract. It lowers cortisol and improves testosterone, especially for men. But testosterone is also needed for women. You need to have a certain level of testosterone. The substances are vitaferin A, vithanone, vithanolide A, and so on, different chemical compounds. Ashwagandha has been studied quite a bit, so it has been like over 300 clinical studies released. Of course, about half of them are animal studies, but also quite a bunch of human studies. If you want to go deeper into that, I would suggest that you go to examine.com and search for ashwagandha. It's a premium database. So, lowers cortisol, higher testosterone, boosts acetylcholine, GABA, which is like the more relaxing neurotransmitter, has an interesting modulating effect on the serotonergic system. So this is actually also antidepressant. Glutamate, which is the main excitatory neurotransmitter, it goes down. So this is one of my favorites if I'm like too hyped, too stressed, have a too stressful period, then I go with ashwagandha. Anybody used reishi? Boom. Probably the same guys who've been using all these others. I like wild red reishi from Jiangbai mountain. It's super dark. This is my absolute favorite. I fed this to my mother and my mother-in-law, and after a minute they took like 2 squares of that, and they're like, okay, my heart feels warm. So it's also a so-called Shen tonic. Opens up your heart. Optimal dose, 500 to 1,800 milligrams 3 times per day, or if you're using like the alcohol extract, is 6 milligrams 3 times per day. There are like a lot of substances, a lot of different chemical compounds. The main ones in the water extract are like these polysaccharides, and the alcohol extract are more of these 3 terpenoids. It promotes neurogenesis, it protects the neurocells, induces relaxation, reduces fatigue and anxiety. So sounds pretty good. We have also available like reishi coffee. Anybody use Rishi coffee? So that's a really good combination to balance out the caffeine effects. Then, Schisandra. This is a glycerol extract. It's pretty dark and it has all the 5 tastes. Really, you should try it. It's like an exploding experience in your mind. Yeah. So what does it do? Basic substances are schisandrin A, B, C, etc. Optimal dose would be, I would use like 2 full droppers once or twice daily. Alcohol or water extract or glycerol extract. It lowers cortisol after exercise. For example, yesterday I went to the gym before the upgrade dinner. Then I took quite a bunch of Schisandra and I was totally good. Promotes acetylcholine, increases memory consumption, consolidation, focus, heat stress tolerance. So if you're in the sun, it's been pretty warm, use Schisandra. Reduces anxiety, as you saw that all of these 4 compounds are reducing anxiety. Everybody has some level of anxiety. That's unavoidable. All right, let's go to the supplements. I said to you, this is an interactive lecture. Here are my top 4 supplements for stress. Number 1, phosphatidylserine. This is 100 milligrams tablet. There you go. This is like perfect for lowering cortisol after exercise. If I have a heavy exercise, I use it in the evening. So here's like the rates that it lowers cortisol. The PS is like phosphatidylserine placebo on the lower end. The left one is testosterone, so it actually raises testosterone and lowers cortisol. Pretty amazing effects. But also, it affects your memory, especially like work memory. And also you can remember names and things that you wouldn't think that you would remember. I feed this to my parents too. They're getting younger. Get a better mood, better cognition. My number 1 from the supplement side. L-theanine. Anybody used L-theanine? Perfect match with coffee. Optimal dosage 200 milligrams, 1 to 3 times per day. If you want max effort or the max response for relaxation, 400 milligrams. It actually increases alpha brain waves. That's pretty cool. So you get this relaxed, calm state, even with a meditative state with theanine. Lowers corticosterone or cortisol in rat studies. Glutamate, which is the excitatory neurotransmitter, increases GABA in rat studies. Human studies show that it lowers anxiety and stress and heart rate and increases what's NO? Nitric oxide and blood flow. Sounds pretty good, huh? L-tyrosine. Few, little less. This is like a basic hack for dopamine. So over here on the lower side is like the dopamine production. The tyrosine goes to dopamine, then to dopamine, and from there, noradrenaline and adrenaline. But you don't want to go too high with this. Otherwise, it will go too much into the adrenaline side. Optimal doses, if you're very sensitive, 500 milligrams is probably just the right dose for you. If you're not that sensitive, 2000 milligrams is like the max dose for max effects. Increases dopamine, neuroprotection, lower stress, acute and chronic stress, especially if you're tired, if you're sleep deprived, this is perfect. Lowers heart rate, working memory, cognition, overall well-being in stress, especially on shift workers. Boom, taurine, over here. That's my favorite amino acid for regular use. It's been studied a lot in animals. Human studies are coming, but they're like lagging. Optimal dosage 500 to 1000 milligrams. For max effects for before sleep, 2000 milligrams. Various effects noticed in especially in the vitro and mouse studies, and also a few human studies. Increases GABA, glycine, which is also like a relaxing neurotransmitter, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, neuroprotection, growth of new brain cells, retinal protection. So actually taurine is very good for your retina. You want to be able to see very good. It protects mitochondria from oxidative stress, increases angiogenesis, which is like new blood vessels, increases fat oxidation, testicle protection from oxidative stress, good for men, lowers depression in animal studies and anxiety in human studies. So I would elevate taurine for essential amino acid, even though it isn't, because it's so potent. Okay, honorable mentions. The time period for my speech is so short, I could go on for this like 2 hours or so. I've been so deep into these different supplements and herbs and stuff, and I experimented with probably all of those. Really fascinating. But for like basic use, if you're in chronic stress, use vitamin C. Use it longer period of time, multiple times per day, with enough high doses. Vitamin B6, B12, they're really good. Usually they are depleted if you're very chronically stressed. Use bioactive forms. Magnesium, if I would take like one mineral supplement, I would use magnesium. It's so hugely important. It affects like 300 different enzymes and so on. EPA and DHA, actually DHA goes very well with phosphatidylserine for brain protection, memory, and stress. It's not a preference, it's just an order. Usually you write it that way. We need both. Huh? In the brain, we have more DHA. Yeah. Anybody tried our supplement, the Biohackers Handbooks Rauha, which means peace? It's on sale over the second floor. This is pretty interesting supplement. It's got central ashwagandha, which is like the more calming, and acetyltyrosine, which is like the bioactive form of tyrosine, so more dopamine. Theanine, more relaxation, alpha base. Green tea, that's for more overall well-being, more relaxed state. Vitamin B6 and B12 are needed to activate different pathways in the neurons. And piperine is bioactive. It makes it more bioavailable. So one more supplement to take. Getting peace with it. Our Biohacker Stress Manual is coming up. Hopefully this year in Finnish, it's going to be out in a month. Questions?
I just want to know, how do you feel now after all those supplements?
I feel connected. I feel pretty good.
Great, thank
Probably
you.
it takes a little bit more time to kick in, but I'm used to in that. I just told the Steam Land that I'm always on some kind of interesting cocktail.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you, Olli.
but these are like, the side effects are like pretty non-existent. Of course, you can take too much, but for example, adaptogenic herbs, there are really no side effects. So that makes it pretty interesting. Next.
I'd like to know what your opinion is on what would be the optimal strategy for someone that doesn't take any supplements at all. Like, how do you begin, and how do you change course based on like your reaction to the supplements, or like how would you build them up? Because it doesn't feel right to just jump and do so many at the same time.
Yeah.
So what would be like what would you recommend?
That's a very good question, and I didn't go that way either. So I've been playing with different substances in different times. So I would start with like one adaptogenic herb and play with that and see how you feel with that in a few weeks. For example, if you're feeling like fatigued or a little like sluggish go with the rhodiola. If you're feeling like overhyped and like in the super high mode, super high stress mode, go with ashwagandha. If you feel like that you're very anxious, like your heart is or like it's very closed or you like this, go with reishi. If you want to boost your memory, your cognition, go with the phosphatidylserine. If you want to boost your motivation, go with tyrosine. So play with it yourself. Don't do like I do here. This is just a demonstration.
I'm just wondering about those people who are actually in the adrenal exhaustion phase where they're actually not producing any cortisol. And do you worry about lowering their cortisol when they don't actually have any? They're not producing any.
Can you repeat the last sentence?
Are you ever worried about people who have like very low cortisol already because they're adrenally exhausted and now they're not actually producing any to like lower it further? Would that be?
No. I have to correct you in the sense that if you wouldn't produce any cortisol, you would be dead.
I mean, not any, but there's obviously
I get you.
I meant a lower.
Yeah. So in that sense, you wouldn't want to do all the things that could rejuvenate your adrenal and all the HPA system. So I wouldn't go things that would lower it. In that sense, for like the licorice would be more perfect. Adding more salt, especially adding vitamin C, which is like the main vitamin in adrenals. And I would go like with like functional medicine type of approach on that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I tried to sneak in. So someone asked me, like, do we have to carry you down the stage after all those supplements? So you seem pretty good, pretty relaxed after such a talk. So I decided, let's have some more Odiola,
That's Finnish.
From?
Sydney, yeah, it's Arctic
Yeah,
Warriors. And also some nettle.
Yeah, that's from the Arctic region. The plants are stronger in the Arctic. And this is the glycerin extract. I'm going to give it into the audience. You can take just take too much, just a little bit. And you can feel.
Don't suck it.
Enjoy the taste, Probably going to disappear. So thank you very much. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Thank you.